right, you're watching TVC News and live coverage of the Ondo governorship election is very much on course. Ondo decides 2024, that's the apt caption, and our crew are still very much scattered around Ondo State, bringing us up to speed with all the happenings. From what we hear, voting has ended. Sorting, counting, collation are expected to be underway before the announcement of who indeed carries the day out of the 17 or so governorship candidates from being fielded by various political parties in Ondo State. I'd like to thank the analysts we had earlier on, Jide Ojo and Adewale Adeoye. They joined us from Abuja. We thank you very much. They had to leave, and we thank them for their great contributions during the course of our analysis. Right now with me, I have a lawyer, Jide Ologun. He's also a public affairs analyst whose wedding anniversary is today. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Right. And Chris Kende Wandu is very much here on course. Just returned from a trip. I wouldn't say where from. I wouldn't say where from, but
you're your own.
It's good to have you both. Well, welcome. I trust you're both.
And well. Also two stakeholders in Ondo State.
Two stakeholders. Two stakeholders, and we will see. We will see now that we're starting with their contributions. So, Mr. Ologo, just, I don't know if you came at the time or if you followed the conversation Ayodele Ozugwakun had with the Yaga team in their preliminary assessment. That's Yaga Election Monitoring Group. They are calling it an improved INEC, especially from the just concluded Edo governorship election. What's your own assessment of what you're seeing on ground so far?
Many expected that, in the sense that even before the election, there were warnings from stakeholders that INEC should not repeat the mistakes of Edo State, even though those mistakes were not specified. But we witnessed the Edo elections, how it was going on well until it got to the collation centers and some issues sprang up, and all is history now. And for Ondo State, let me start by saying that Ondo State has become relatively peaceful, because for those of us who keenly were part of the Second Republic politics in Ondo State, it was a violent encounter. But right now, beyond what the governor had to go through after the demise of his principal, Akeredolu, that now brought him to office as a substantive governor to continue that tenure, he's been able to stabilize the environment and pull the party together and extend the tentacles of relationships in terms of governance and politics. And one of the features of this election is that some political analysts came out to say that the opposition tempo was very low, almost absent. And again, that reflects how the governor has been able to manage the space. And then we are awaiting the final results of today, because basically even those we had about 18 contestants, it's majorly between the two dominant parties that we have in the country now. We're talking about APC and PDP, and perhaps Labour Party. And you know that Labour Party had a decision of the Court of Appeal that necessitated having to change the candidate within 24 hours before this current election. So we want to appreciate the people of Ondo State having learned from long history and having come to this point. So we expect that now that INEC is flying on the wings of having improved on the deliverables, that we eventually reflect as we look forward to a transparent, credible, and fair election. And we have the European observers there and those who are monitoring the elections. So far, so good through the day.
Right. And, in terms of, okay, so you have a history with Ondo. You're also a journalist. This, like I said earlier on to the earlier analyst, this will not be, this is in the first, Ondo election that you will be monitoring, observing, or even reporting. In terms of the trend, the narrative, and what you are seeing on ground now, how would you rate this this particular cycle of election?
Yeah, from the report coming in, it has been peaceful. Expectedly, voters apathy in some areas. Okay. But generally
that doesn't surprise you?
No, it doesn't surprise me, because why I say it doesn't surprise me, because just yesterday on my program, Inside Politics, with CK on TV, and my guest was one Professor Nnamdi Aduba, who is a board member of YAGA. And he told me categorically, he told us categorically that from what he's saying, that the turnout in Ondo might not be as expected, because that he has been around town. He didn't see that level of enthusiasm on the part of people. It's not that they've just given up on the election or whatever, but that he didn't see that kind of feel. But so it's not surprising that in some places you saw that level of voters apathy, which has been reported by the correspondents all over. But compared to Edo State, which just also happens a few weeks ago, there's no different pattern, because, yes, people of Edo must have come out a bit more to vote, but that election was strictly peaceful as well. In Edo, it was strictly peaceful. Where the challenge started coming in, or came in, was during the announcement of the results. So if across board, election generally in Nigeria now has always been peaceful to a large extent. And the reason being that the innovation brought by INEC. Gone are the days in the 90s, or yes, in the 80s, where you see snatching of buses, ballot. That is where it used to start. You see people voting, and some people just come, carry the ballot bus, and run away, or dump inside the vehicle and run away, and start chasing people. Now you don't need any ballot bus as it used to be, because it has been we are a bit technologically advanced in our voting pattern, where you just go, just do your top and blah blah, and you just do what you need to do, and so. But with the report that is coming in, fine. And also we need to commend the security agencies, not only the security agencies also, but even the people of Ondo State. Because if they are not ready to make it peaceful, no matter how, if you like, take the whole military in Nigeria to that state, it will still not be peaceful. So they on their own have volunteered to make the election peaceful. And they make the job of the security agencies very easy. So the report we are getting in that it was peaceful across the state. But let us now take it to the next level, which is during the collation of the result and announcing the result. That is what we are looking forward to. Absolutely.
And talking about correspondence and what next now in Ondo State, let's check with one of our correspondents on ground over there in Ondo. Sarah Ayeko is standing by live for us. Last time we spoke with you, you were in Okitikpupa, within Okitikpupa local government area. Confirm your location now for us and what's happening now.
So I'm still within Okitikpupa. It's one of the largest local governments in Ondo State. So it's pretty large. I was at Igbotako, but now I'm, right at Okitikpupa. This is where you call Okitikpupa. So this was the polling unit I was at early this morning. This is polling unit 010. That's polling unit 10, Ward 13. And this is where we had some sort of chaotic scene. Of course, election is over, voting is over, and you can see how peaceful this area. This is the Olale quarters. And so what you have there now is INEC ad hoc staff cancelling some of the sheets that were unused for this election. That's the ballot papers. And so that's what they're trying to do. And you see the party agents there just waiting for them to collect the results. Sorting and counting ended a couple of minutes ago. And so what they're doing right now is cancelling out the unused ballot papers, writing the results, and then uploading to IREV. And so just down the street, right, is where the collation center is. Just this stretch, of Okitikpupa Road is where the collation center is. And so when they're done at this particular point, they take it down to the LG collation center, which is not too far from here. And that's where all of the, it's another round of collation starts when it leaves the ward level. It continues at the local government collation center, and then we can now go to Akure, the state capital. Of course, we are also trying to rush down to Akure to see, and get all of the drama that would come with this sorting and collation. Of course, sorting, collation, and announcement of this result, because this is a very keenly contested election between, of course, the major political parties in the state.
Right. Well, so far, so good on the part of INEC, at least going by observers such as Yaga that have released initial reports, giving them kudos of some sorts. But now that we are in the sorting, counting, collation stage, what is INEC doing from what you are seeing to ensure that indeed they've learned their lessons and we are getting a truly improved INEC?
This is the penultimate lap, second to the last lap, just before announcement of the result. This is a very crucial moment where most of the party agents have issues with. And so at this particular polling unit, you see them, of course, standing guard, like be there on guard, just to ensure that the results being collated on the sheets are the results, are the ballot papers counted for these particular polling units. And so what you see here, after the sorting and counting is done, they take that sheet where they are collating the results on, they take it to the local government. This is the ward level, take it to the local government, and then it continues onward to the state level. And so you can see the security operatives also standing guard and waiting just to ensure that nothing happens. For INEC, although we had a bit of issues, technicalities for the BVAS machine, it was not really rampant as if you compare it to what we had in the Edo State governorship election. But what we've seen today is some sort of improvement, particularly in this local government where I'm at. We didn't really record a lot of incidences for polling units where there were incidents of BVAS malfunction. It worked later on, but at some point it wasn't working for the elderly, but then it worked. And sometimes it slows down the process, but of course people are happy that at the end of the day they could vote, they could stand on queue, be accredited, and then vote for the candidates of their choice. So for election observers, they've said that INEC started on time. That for them, they give them that. They're giving them a pass mark on that. If you take a look at the Edo State government election, right, there were issues concerning the time election was supposed to start. There were also concerns about these rural communities, and we understand that in Ilaje, which is one of the riverine communities where election started right on time. Even here in Ogutukpa, which is not too far from Ilaje, election started right on time. And in some of the local governments and from some of the reports we've gotten, election started on time. And so that's a pass mark for INEC. Now is the crucial time where we would see them upload the results on IREV, and then what would happen at the state level. That's at the collation center in Akure. So we're waiting to see, of course, get feedback from all of the party agents, because they are like the eyes and the watchdogs for this election, apart from the security operatives, of course.
Well, the post-mortem has commenced, and we're talking. We brought you on board at the time where we're just talking about voter turnout. Yeka also had a thing or two to say about that. In fact, it's projecting as low as 30% turnout on the part of voters across Okitikpokpa, where I would say you covered, for the most part of the day. What's the major takeaway for you in terms of voter turnout?
Election is at the grassroots. That's like the major takeaway for me. So if you think that these people do not matter or do not have the numbers, if you look at the statistics, particularly the PVCs collected in some of these local governments, Ondo South may not is the second, of course, second largest PVCs collected. But if you take a look at, people always concentrate on Ondo Central because you have the people living in the urban centers, a lot of persons they have registered and collected their PVCs in those areas. But when we went to the market last night, Kemi, some of them said today is a day for them to cook their favorite food, and so they're not planning to come out on election day. But we had thought that election was going to be that boring also at the grassroots, but hey, we got here and then we saw the crowd come out. They were actually, following the process. Even when some party agents were trying to, make a fast run on certain processes, people followed through, and they waited until the elections were over. They waited until the ballots were sorted and counted. So the takeaway for me is for politicians, right, work on the grassroots. And I can tell you, for some of the politicians, right, and when they were trying to canvass for votes, you will hear people say, what have you done for me that I would vote for you? Like they were saying it today. So it's the takeaway for me is that, you know, politicians should also understand that election is at the grassroots. It's the people at the grassroots in these rural communities that can actually garner the votes needed to win. Maybe not necessarily, right, the city centers, that's the state capital. Maybe not necessarily, because you have the elites there who may not trust the democratic process.
Sarah Ayeko, all right, you've already given us a sense of what the rest of your day will be like. Let's just leave you to get on with that. Thanks a lot for the updates from your end. We look forward to hearing from you all, hearing more from you all. Let's come back to the studio now for more discussions. Of course, Jide Ologun, as well as Chris Kende Nwando are still very much here with me. In the meantime, let's also check out, let's see some more of the sights and sounds coming in from Okitikpupa, where our reporter Sarah Ayeko just brought us updates from. She says sorting is underway, and we are seeing glimpse of that now. Shortly after that, Sarah says we will finish up from here and then move further down the street for the collation from Okitikpupa before all the votes and all the results will be taken to the state capital, Akure. Right, Ondo decides 2024. Let's come back now to the studio. So, Mr. Ologo, well, one of the takeaways for many, I don't know whether you would even agree with the attitude of the voters to this cycle of election. Let me even start with that. How would you rate the attitude of the voters now? On one hand, we are seeing people talk about voter apathy. On another hand, we're getting a sense that it might just be maybe a local government to local government. It may be relative, but if you would cap it in one word, what would it be like for you? Is it truly voter apathy?
Absolutely, because she mentioned a very valid point. Accountability requests may not be so prominent, but passively, people are beginning to ask themselves, okay, we've gone out several times, what have we gotten in return? Because whether we like it or not, an average voter understands the essence of democracy as the government of the people, by the people and for the people. And the big question today is that, is it really about the people? Or you still have those who, for the party interest or the candidates, a loyalty to the candidates, will still come out. But basically, many will just see it as an holiday, and some again have this perception in public relations that the results are predetermined. You know, some will tell you it doesn't, that their votes, those people will say their votes don't count. And like you said, the scenario will be different from one location to another. It may be different in Akure, it may be different in Owo, it may be different in the Akoko region. And then this is the region of Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa, so this Kale Ilaje area. So, but basically, and at the global level, electorates are asking, when are we going to start tasting the dividends of democracy? So that may punctuate the need for us to overrun voting apathy. It's apparent, you know, particularly when some would have expected that when politicians need their votes, they come around. The moment they are voted into office, they disappear. You see, so we still need to work in that area. And it's one of the assignments of INEC. We tried some years ago to engage the people on voting apathy, but they almost took us as government. And we told them we are not government. You know, we went out on behalf of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations at that time that, hey, even when we expect the transformation in the governance profiling of the nation, we must be involved. It's your civic responsibility to come out and vote. And we hope that we improve as we go into the future. And again, those who are elected in the office, they also have the roles to play to give people the reason to come out and participate in this civic responsibility.
Absolutely. All right, so let's head back, gentlemen, to Ondo State. One of our correspondents, another of our correspondents, Ibrahim Alege, is live for us now. I understand that you are in Omifon area of Odigbo local government area of Ondo State. Give us a sense of what's happening there now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kemi. It's done and dusted here in Omifon, specifically at Unit 13, Ward 8 in Odigbo local government area of Ondo State. The ballot papers have been sorted and counted, and in fact, everybody has left. All the representatives of the political parties have signed the results paper, and all of them have dispersed to the collation center, the local government level. And also at the other side, you have the Unit 12, and it's also done and dusted there. So in this particular area, everything is over, and virtually everybody has left the venue, their respective polling units. So it's been all good and fine. But with the result I'm having here, it also speaks to the turnout of voters. Very low. So I'll give you an example of this particular, polling units.
We get to that. Of course, you know how fluid everything can be, at this point now. We just want to be very careful with what we are dishing out to the viewers. Just give us now the assessment on the part of the political agents, the party agents, who you say were on ground monitoring this crucial process. What feedback did they give you?
Yes, they are okay with the process. They are okay with the process. Everything went on seamlessly. The only thing is that the turnout of voters is actually very low in this particular polling unit. Just less than 25% of people came out to vote, and not all of them voted right, because some of them, actually had void votes, 10 of them. So that's why you have just less than 25% of voter turnout in this particular unit. But every other thing, went on smoothly at this particular unit, and of course the other one at the other side of the road.
So what's happening there in Odigbo right now? We're getting a sense that business is picking up. What was it like before, and what is it like now in the area? Ibrahim, are you there? Hello, Ibrahim. Can you hear me? Okay, let's come back to the studio. Of course, from what we are seeing now, voting has since ended, and in some areas, according to Ibrahim Alege there, who is in Odigbo local government area, voting counting have ended, and we understand it will be now time for all these results to be transmitted to the state capital, Akure, where all local governments will bring in their results, and then we'll get formal announcements of how the elections went down in Ondo State. Back to the studio now. So, Chris, voter apathy, you say you're not exactly surprised. For some people who exhibited this negative trend, they are like, we all know what it means. From what Mr. Ologun also explained, we've been down the road, over and over again. Just before we continue, Alege is back. I was asking Ibrahim, so how is the town now that they've done their civic duties? What are they telling you about their expectations moving forward? Okay, it appears we're having some glitches from Ibrahim's end. So, Chris, did you get the question in terms of voter apathy, why people are, just staying back? We are having 30%, if not less than, in terms of voter turnout, as against the 1.7 million or thereabouts that we understand registered, accredited for the election. But what would you deduce as the reason for this? And how can political parties, correct this if it's a concern to them?
Yes, before that, but we can also look back at what happened at the last general election. At the last general election, yes. So there were, Ondo State had about 1.9 million registered voters in 2023. At the end of that election, turnout was 28.62%, less than 30%. That's the presidential, that was a national election. So it is not, it was expected. I don't think that Ondo State in the last 15 years has crossed the 300,000 mark in terms of turnout of voters.
But this is a state that we would call politically aware.
Yes, political, but you have to understand there are so many dynamics that comes into play. One is, just as rightly said, what is my stake? That is very basic. If you feel that you don't have so much of a stake in the candidates, or you don't have faith in the candidate, you as well just stay at home and decide. Some young people decide to start playing ball. That's why you see during the election, young people convert all the areas to play a football field. Some people will remain in the house. Some go to sit down somewhere to drink, and the rest of them, because they don't really have faith in the system. That is very, very crucial. So we must have a stake. That is the second one, just as also rightly said, is that at the end of it, some people believe that, for goodness sake, whether I vote or not, my vote doesn't count. And that is why we have always said that, we must bridge that trust between the electoral body and the people. Because most often than not, if after election people come to realize that their votes did not count, the tendency is always for them to, what is the essence of going to vote again? That is the second. Then the third leg is also the problem we've been having with aftermath of election, where people are voted for, the people come out to vote. At the end of it all, it goes to the tribunal, it goes to the court, and there are not those elections. So that in itself brings a lot of people just feel that, for goodness sake, what is the essence of vote? Right. After we voted now, of course, it will still go to the court. The person that even INEC declares as the winner may not even be the eventual winner. So those are the kind of attitude that we have.
Yes.
Okay, I know.
So sorry, thanks for your understanding. Ibrahim Alege, so I was asking, just before we let you go, talking about in Odigbo local government area, what are the people saying about what their expectations are now that they've cast their ballots?
Well, people are happy because of the process, particularly that it's seamless. They do not have any issue with beavers machine in most of the polling units that I visited in the local government area of Ondo State. And again, for the fact that the ballots were sorted in their presence and also counted in their presence. Those who are here, they knew what each respective party actually got from their polling unit. So they were happy about the process, that it went on smoothly, except for the fact that some of them complained that many people do not come out for the election in this particular polling unit. Just 25% of voters came out to cast their ballots in this polling unit. But apart from that, all went well at this particular polling unit, and people are happy about it. It's a seamless process. Just come here for your accreditation. Thereafter, you are given the ballot paper to vote for whoever you want to be your governor in Ondo State.
All right, Ibrahim Alege, that will be all for now. We'll check back with you and the rest of the crew as the day unfolds. A long night is looking like, but indeed we appreciate all the updates from your end. Right, so talking about how we can correct this situation. So there is a problem on ground, but then the law has made it simple. The law does not speak about where we have, low voter turnout or that. The law basically says he who has the most number of votes will carry the day. So is this really a problem in terms of, do you see this as a problem, basically?
Well, I don't see that as a problem because we're even lucky with what we're practicing here. Okay. Unlike what happens in the United States, especially within the presidential system, the presidential election, where you see the person that has the popular votes doesn't end up becoming the president. Yeah. Doesn't get elected as the president. Their own is collegial, that kind of, so they have the colleges. So if theirs is very funny for me. We are about 5 states or 7 states. Yeah. We determine, what the rest of the 51 states. So it's so very funny. But ours is simple majority. The only way that the electoral body might not be able to announce the result if it's very, very close and the error of margin is very, very close. That is why you used to have the rerun, especially at the governorship level. But what we should be talking about now is how do we make sure that people continue to have that kind of confidence in our electoral system. It's not only just the governorship, even the presidential. How many people voted at the last presidential election? The president that won, the president had less than 10 million votes to become the president of Nigeria, a country of about 200 million people. If you understand what I mean. We must create that opportunity for people to start having confidence in our electoral system and believing that when they vote, their vote will count. That is another. Then the most important aspect is that government touching the lives of the people. Because it's one thing people just believe that, once we elect them, they will go. We don't get to see them. We continue to see that there's no difference between the time a governor is elected for 4 years. That road that passes through your front of your house in your local government was not fixed. Your life has not improved in terms of water. You don't have water. The past 4 years, you don't have water in your area. The secondary school in your local village or whatever, there's no improvement. Let us leave the issue of electricity because you say, electricity is a federal thing. But you come to realize that the transformer that brings electricity to your community has been there for the past 2 years. They are not looking at the president. They are looking at the governor. He didn't fix it. So with all this mirage of this thing, then the question is, what is there for me? You may say they are selfish, but they are not selfish because that's what we call dividends of democracy. If those dividends does not come in, the tendency for people to react and come out to vote for another set of people is very, very difficult. So what are the issues? First, we have to be able to build confidence. There must be a bit of confidence between the leaders and the various electorates. That's one. Then the other aspect also is that we must up our campaign, trying to enlighten the people on the needs. And this is not just about INEC now. The political parties are not doing enough. All you see them do, once there's election, they come to one stadium and one area and just have a one rally and they disappear. Not knowing that they have to go from... In the United States, election is a very serious matter. Where the politicians go, there's what is called door-to-door campaign. You must have seen it. Kamala Harris, was going from knocking, having people employed that were going from door to door, knocking, both the Democrats and the Republicans. You will see the presidential candidates on their own. You will see that they will appear, not this one that we do here, where you see them, it's only election, you see the wife of the presidential candidate who go and fry akara. This one that they used to do, or start going to bond, or eating agege bread, or drinking Milo. No, that is not their own style. You will see them, you see Donald Trump, that he went to an eatery. That was this. He was attending to customer. That is the trust. When you see a presidential candidate serving you tea, for goodness sake, that in fact that cup self, I will take it home as a souvenir. So those are the kind of this. But the most important aspect that they touch lives, because knowing that if they don't do it in 4 years' time, they'll be voted out. And that is why the people take to it. But here, people believe that once a governor enters, he will stay there for the next 8 years. The possibility of voting out a governor in Nigeria is very, very difficult, if not for the courts. So what we need to do is make sure that we build back that confidence and make sure that our people have so much confidence in our electoral system. It happened in the 90s. I was in the 70s, in the 80s. I remember in 1979, I think I was in primary 6 or so, when we had is that Second Republic election? Second Republic election. I don't know how young you were. Yes, I don't want to get the days of MPP, UPN, MPN, GMPP, and PRP. You need to see as the election days. But we also got it a bit right when it came to the presidential election that we voted Abiola. If you see the turnout at that particular election, was it not option A4?
Hope 93.
Hope 93.
Yes.
You will see the long queue from here to that gate where we're coming from. Because people had confidence. The person that is coming, they have so much trust and belief in the person. But now, as an average person in a local government, who is your House of Representative member in Abuja? He doesn't know. Who is your senator in the National Assembly? He doesn't know. Who is your member in the State House of Assembly? He doesn't know. Why? Because he feels that the person is distant from him. He cannot reach him. So even if an election comes tomorrow, he doesn't get. What people now vote, what we do in Nigeria, people vote for parties, not individuals any longer. And that is the dangerous part of it. So you just belong to one particular party, it's popular in your area, they go there and vote. But forgetting that it's not about the party, but the representative of that party. He is the one that's going to do the job. It's not the party that will do the job. Because even with all the manifestos that we have, that political parties, how many of them, when they get to office, implement those manifestos to the letter? That is the issue.
And okay, so big issues that you both have raised, but in terms of where we go from here, the people have cast their votes, and what next? If we bring back the U.S. example in the wake of their presidential election, we also saw that when it was already clear to everyone, Kamala Harris, made that call, conceding and acknowledging that yes, indeed, she had lost the keenly contested election. But is it a matter of the system, the INEX of this world that, makes the system so attractive and will not encourage voter apathy? We understand that maybe the voter turnout in America was about 60%, and it's also an equally vast country, just like Nigeria or even more than Nigeria. But on whom will you put the onus of, sanitizing the matter or the mess here in Nigeria?
It is simply systemic. You just mentioned the case of the United States of America. Even when Trump was taken out of the White House, he attempted some political dramas, but the system resisted him. There was a breach of the Capitol, and the system said, no, Trump, you are a citizen, and this is a country that has a high respect for the rule of law. And what is the rule of law? The rule of law says that all citizens, irrespective of the office you occupy, and institutions are subject to the laws of the land. Is that what we have here? The answer is no. In fact, we have come to the point where the rule of law is almost a slave to the power brokers. And that is why you hear a honorable minister at the federal level saying that powerful people are behind illegal mining. So the provisions of Section 15, subsection 5 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, that says the state shall abolish corrupt practice and abuse of office, has been rendered redundant by some powerful people. That is why you read about oil thieves who their vessels are arrested, but the personalities behind this theft are untouchables. Those are issues. So those are the results that you get. Because Kamala Harris herself knows that if you shout foul, you're going nowhere. And again, talking about the system, that was a Donald Trump that came from the Republican Party to unseat an incumbent leadership. And so that tells you something that the people have expressed themselves. Let's now come to how we can restore the confidence of the people. It's clearly stated in our Constitution. If you read Section 14, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it says that the security and the welfare of the citizens shall be the primary purpose of government. Have we scored a pass mark in terms of governance at the primary level? We are now talking about tertiary level and post-tertiary. So when you profile the welfare of the citizens today, according to the Minimum Wage Act 2024, minimum wage is 70,000 naira. Christmas is on the way. A bag of rice, local rice, is over 100,000 naira. The pump price of PMS, petroleum, is about 1,080 naira, depending on where you go. So you look at the inflationary rate, you look at the insecurity in the land, then you ask yourself, are people benefiting? In fact, as brilliantly mentioned by Mr. Chris, we make reference to dividends of democracy. Is it an investment that you are now talking about dividends? It's service to the people. Service. Service. Look at Singapore. Singapore left Malaysia in 1965 with little resources, but with strong vision. And between 1965 and where we are now, Singapore is one of the best places to live and to work in the world. Why? System. Meritocracy. There are the elements we call the 10 magics of Singaporean transformation. You see, now the country is battling with national grid collapsing. Do you know that the first electricity installation in Lagos was put in place in 1898, even before the amalgamation of 1914, before our political independence in 1960. And today, we are battling in that sector. So when people begin to see that the interest is about the people, why not? And talking about the interventions of the judiciary that he mentioned, which is also sacrosanct, let's use Ondo State as a test case. In 2003, late Agagu was the governor in Ondo State. In fact, he appointed Mimiko as his SSG. And in 2005, Olusegun Obasanjo pulled Mimiko out to become the minister at the federal level. In 2007, Mimiko returned to contest he pulled out of PDP to come into Labour Party. And at the polls, Agagu won. It was over a year in office, and Mimiko went to the tribunal, to the court. And interestingly, at that point in time, the appeal court was the highest level of intervention. And at the appellate level, I think July 2008, Mimiko won. And that took Agagu out of office. That is even the history of how Ondo State became one of the 8 states with off-cycle elections in the country. So more or less, and it is my personal perception, I think the democracy practice in Nigeria is not about service to the people. It's about service to the power brokers. You see, and that is what we are still dealing with now. However, when you have leaders who are wise, you leverage on the opportunities of being given the privilege of office to provide for the people. Irrespective of what anyone says, Nelson Mandela is a brand name globally. That name does not struggle in the space of golden recognition. So why don't you also? Because he also mentioned a vibrant point. It's not about the party. It's about the person. Right now in Nigeria, the party syndrome has been demystified. Nyesom Wike, that is currently the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, which party does he belong to? Is it PDP or APC? He has one leg in APC, one leg in PDP. But he is delivering. So when we come to the point of making political office holders accountable, look at the great minister from Akoko Northwest, right. Tunji, the Minister of Interior. He's doing very well. So it's about service to the people. And I hope leadership in Nigeria will realize that you have a responsibility to serve the people. And when you serve the people, really, all those benefits, we are allowing greed to push to us. We overtake you, and you have your name on the golden side of history. So, and that is what my advice is now to leadership. You know, somebody will win the elections in Ondo State. After you're winning, people are asking, what are we going to benefit? What are the basic amenities that should be provided?
Right, but well, it is a keenly contested, election. But then it's been peaceful so far. Okay, yes, we heard about the DSS arresting someone with big bags of cash and all of that. But do you foresee a bitter process even after now, talking about heading to the courts, disgruntled politicians or candidates heading to the courts? Is it going to be like the usual cycle we know of, or are you expecting some surprises? That from what we are seeing, we've talked about an improved INEC and all of that, we might just have congratulatory calls or messages across board.
When you have developed a system where everybody believes that I can get it through the courts, everybody will head to the courts. Because at the courts, you don't know what will happen. It is in this country that we saw a governor that came forth in an election, was declared the winner by the Supreme Court. Who in the world will ever believe that? Okay, let's even say the person that won the election, for whatever reason, his election was annulled. Of course, automatically, this person that came second will take it. He didn't go to the second person. He didn't go to the third person. The person that came fourth was. But my own is that what we're practicing in Nigeria currently is not democracy. What we are practicing is civilian rule. We've not gotten to the point of democracy. The day we hit democracy, as defined in that, as it was defined to us in our secondary school, it was very, very simple, which you have defined it, as it was defined to us, and which I, as a graduate of law, also read. What we are practicing is not, because what we are practicing is not something that where the people determine who rules them. It's not. And that is why I'm talking about confidence building. If you don't get people to build the confidence of people to believe in an action, not an election now, what makes a leader is for you to stand and the people can follow you blind that come whatever. It's like a driver. Most of when you are traveling and you are taking a public transport, the man that is going to drive that vehicle, you don't know him. You don't know his surname. You don't know which region of the country he came from. You don't even know how long he has been driving. But you know what?
Trust.
You have that trust that this guy will take you to your destination, and that is why you enter. And most often than not, he takes you to your destination, if not for any reason. So that is where the confidence. The day we'll be able to hit it, at the point at which people will now believe that, oh, no matter what, the person I think, and once that happens, anybody that loses such an election, we congratulate the other. Because he believes that it has happened in this country. It happened in 2015.
2015.
It's not skyrocketing. It has happened in this country in 2015. We had an election where a sitting president lost. And what did he do? Even before they announced the result, the man picked the call. He said some people were telling him, including those very close to him, I don't want to mention, we were telling, he picked the call and called. Even the man that won the election said, they have not arrived. He said, no, congratulations. Because he believed that system was fair. The election was fair. And you also know what happened in 2015. Because of what he did, go and check 2015 election. Litigation dropped. Litigations dropped to about 70%. A lot of people didn't go to court, even at the governorship level. So, coming back to what you're asking, if the result in Ondo is declared, it won't be declared today, definitely to be tomorrow, or hopefully. If it's declared tomorrow, and those that are lost, there are 17 of them that contested, and those that lost saw that they lost squarely, nothing will stop them from calling the winner and say, congratulations. For goodness sake, they are all from Ondo State. What purpose are they contesting for? Is it not to serve the people of Ondo State? You might say that the average Nigerian politician is one of the most selfish I've ever seen in the face of the globe.
Right.
And that is a fact. So it is good for us to tell ourselves this truth. Because tomorrow we'll still come back, wherever we're going again, Ask yourself in Edo State, what was the percentage of the turnout? It's the same thing. It's across board. It's not just about Ondo. We are talking of Ondo now. Go and check that of Edo State. And what happened? It's almost the same thing. I don't think they crossed the 35% threshold in terms of total turnout. And you are talking of a state of about 1.7 million voters, and probably about 350,000 came out to elect a governor. Is that a true representation of the feelings and the yearnings of the voters? No, it is not.
All right, let's also look at some other aspects that we have seen playing out in this election, talking about security. And you both have, brought out historical perspectives to on those states, the peculiarities in the UPN, MPN days. The historians will talk about, pockets of violence, how heated the period was. 30,000 or thereabouts security operatives in Ondo State. What's the assessment for you? Is that necessary? At least from the narrative you've seen, from the body language of the politicians before the election, and now that we are well in it, what do you make of the security outlook?
In an ideal environment, it was an unnecessary venture, mobilizing that retinue of security operatives because of election. Because there must be a budgetary allocation for that move. And for a country that is owing currently about 121 trillion naira, that spent about 84% of the inflow to service debt, I don't think that should make a lot of sense. But when you look at the fact that we have permissively groomed insecurity in the land, then there should be apprehension. Even with the presence of the policemen, the national defense, the military, we still have electorate apathy. So we now talk about when you tell the people you are on your own. So it's what we must work on. And what is the solution? Consequences. In this election going on in Ondo State, as peaceful as it's acclaimed to be, there has been a report of a vote-buying suspect arrested. What will happen to that suspect? By the grace of God, I'm a chief superintendent of police. And so will it go beyond the fact, because in the criminal justice ecosystem, there are three strong pillars: thorough investigation, diligent prosecution before a committed judiciary. So is it that that person caught with a huge amount of money will go away with the elections after the results and everything, and you hear nothing? And in industrial psychology, you call that reinforcement theory, because you are reinforcing vote buying. And so these are issues of the system.
Right.
A society that has laws that are not implemented is as bad as a society without laws. So those are issues. We have electoral laws against electoral offenses. Or do we implement them? In fact, in some of the things we have monitored today, you see people bringing cameras to where people are voting. I think the law does not even permit, the regulations rather, do not permit some of these practices. But because the higher amateur are involved, you see people flouting it. So those are issues. We must get serious as a nation. And it's a very simple thing to do. You ask yourself, so how did America achieve the kind of election that was held that did not shut down any state because of election, that people were still going about their businesses? The UK had an election on the 4th of July, 2024. I'm sure many Nigerians did not even know. An election that moved the incumbent out of office. And I'm not reading that somebody is in court or whatever. So we need a system that reverses the impression that politics is a high-yield investment in Nigeria. And I think we need to work on that. I mean, just sit back. In fact, some of the ministers in Nigeria have told the young ones, why are you running out of Nigeria when you can wake up in 1 week and become certain billionaires? How? By coming into politics. It's obvious. You know, so peradventure, we come to the point that we are like Netherlands, that your being a honorable minister does not entitle you to 4 SUVs
of office
and 5 security
personnel.
That the prime minister rides on a bike to the king's palace and things like that. Then, because I think that is distinguishing factor, then we can begin to reverse some of these characteristics.
All right, let's take a breather now. We'll continue with our analysis and reportage on the Ondo governorship election. In the meantime, we'll take a break now. We also like to inform our viewers on our sister channel, TVC, that we will be pulling out. But, of course, the program continues across our other platforms. So please don't stay away. Join us again when we return. Stay with us.